What's the dumbest thing you've seen a coworker do on the job? I asked one of the new kids to stack the shoe department. Easy if but a bit boring. I showed her, stack by brand and size, big at the bottom, small top yeah? She decided to organize it by the color of the boxes instead because it looked prettier. Took me hours to fix that mess. Why did you fix it? Why didn't she fix her own mistake? I put her on the shoes because I saw it as idiot-proof. I didn't tell her to redo it because I knew I could finish it quicker and before we'd close. Told her to help a colleague in the toy section and told another colleague I'd be busy for the rest of the day. Hello. Want a good laugh? Subscribe and tell us the dumbest thing you've witnessed a colleague do at work. We promise it won't disappoint. So, drop your answer down below and let the hilarity begin. In high school, working at a Chinese restaurant, was there basically to take orders and bus tables. Another dude I vaguely knew from high school got hired there. Nice, popular dude, but not much common sense. Within his first 2 weeks, he went to make himself some food. We were allowed to do that to a certain extent, and he dropped some wontons into the deep fryer. When he decided they were done, and as we were having a conversation, he just reached his hand into the oil to retrieve it. I don't think I even reacted for a moment or two, and then rushed forward. He somehow also didn't react for a moment or two before pulling his hand out and yelling out a cartoon-style youch. He went to the hospital, and quit the job. I knew a guy who did that while working at KFC. I still don't know how his hand isn't messed up from burns. He got fired in the end. This guy isn't the brightest. He once leaned over while driving to change the radio, and when he looked up, he was in the wrong lane about to hit a dump truck he didn't hear honking at him. Smashed his face up pretty good. I burned my arm pretty bad when a coolant hose exploded on me. I don't have any scars because all the skin came off at once. Maybe he was lucky like I was. One dude once photocopied a slice of pizza. We found cheese and stuff inside the machine for weeks. Was pretty funny though. Inside? Did the idiot put the pizza into the document feeder or something? Yes, he did. I immediately thought of Gob from Arrested Development shredding slices of bread in the paper shredder. How else would you feed the machine pizza? I once saw a coworker try to microwave an entire watermelon. Let's just say fruit explosions and cleaning up sticky messes became the highlight of our day for weeks. I saw a tattooist I worked with tattoo laugh now cry ladder across a guy's chest. He was let go / and a few years later a guy came in with warrior across his upper back in bold letters wanting it fixed. Same tattooist lol. Cry me a ladder. Cry me a liver. Cry me a river. Well, in fairness, if you can get rid of that last R, it can be a sick Wario. Telling the manager on duty, I'm not the one eating it, so why should I care? When the manager was trying to explain to her how to correctly prepare a customer's food. Watched a coworker of mine at a Pizza Hut, 1976, clean off the food prep counter with a gross floor broom. He came into work after doing a hit of acid. The kitchen was open, so people at the tables could see the food being made, and someone saw him and yelled out to the other customers, and people started walking out. Cleared it out. Once the manager figured out what happened, he fired the guy on the spot. Must have been hard getting fired back then. Well, I once saw a coworker use a hammer to open a can of soda because using a can opener is too mainstream. While he took a fistful of painkillers and fell into such a deep sleep, we thought he was dead. He was let go shortly thereafter. I accidentally overdosed on codeine when I was a dish pig. Took 4 pills in an hour instead of 1 pill every 4 hours. Ended up lying on the bench by the staff toilets. I wasn't fired, but I think everyone really questioned my intelligence. They questioned and you answered. I cannot argue with that. I once had a coworker who mistook a stapler for a phone and started having a very intense conversation with it. Needless to say, office supplies never looked the same again. Admit to not having spoken to any of the business stakeholders, but instead made up their own story. This was at the end of what was supposed to have been a 4-week information gathering phase of the project. That afternoon, when one of the managers went to escort her from the premises, they found her by the printer with a stack of confidential documents. I worked for a very small construction company and pulled a muscle in my back. My boss's wife was super cool and said just come hang out in the office. Why she wasn't there, I was going to help her secretary and grab something from the printer for her. She snatched it out of my hands and said don't ever look at what I'm copying. I mentioned it to my boss. It turns out it was all the documents, contracts we had with builders. She was going to work for another company. Did they fire her in time before the big implosion? A guy I worked with sent a spreadsheet round with all the women in the office ranked in a spreadsheet and graded overall based on 1 to 5 scores on tits, arse, legs, fuckability and banner. He was somehow shocked he didn't pass his probation. Edit, fuckability not fuckability. Fuckability is not the same as fuckability. Two different qualities but both are important. Yeah, but one is observable and the other must be empirically tested. I had a coworker that smelled of booze at 7 a.m. Supervisor told him he smelled like booze, and made a couple of get lost / go hide somewhere remarks. Coworker was offended, and demanded to be given a breathalyzer. Coworker blew hot and was terminated. The end. When I was a younger and much dumber person, my boss told me I smelled like booze and could take the day off or be terminated. Needless to say, I was smart enough to get out of there. Worked with a lot of hazardous chemicals. Had a coworker who was notorious for being on his phone. We had to use a pump to put a hazardous chemical into a tank. Problem was you couldn't look at the destination and pump the pump at the same time. Someone had to pump and someone had to watch. So I specifically asked said coworker to not look at his phone this one time. Tank overflowed and spilt the chemical everywhere because he was staring at his phone. Took hours to clean up. A coworker of mine was fired for using his cell phone in an electrically classified area. Cell phone wasn't explosion proof, not to mention the fact no cell phones on the floor. They gave him a warning. Second time they walked him out. Bad part for him was that his wife found out he was talking to his girlfriend. 20 years down the tubes. As we like to say, he fired himself. He got close to really firing himself if that was an explosive vapor zone. He opened a Skype window, yes, this was / 10 years ago, and started messaging me to shit talk a person who was in the same call as us. Except, he forgot he was sharing his screen. Even without the screen sharing, always assume that anything you write in company chat / email will be seen by the worst possible person to see it. Professionalism people. A junior developer once sent me a chat message in his native language. I did not know what it said, but Google Translate is a thing, so I could see that he was saying some very unkind things about me. I did not let on that I knew, I just replied with. He was very apologetic and said it was intended for someone else. He was obviously hoping I did not know what it said. He asked me to ignore and delete it. I saved a screenshot instead. My best friend, he took his mop bucket and poured it down a water fountain instead of using the closet with a sink that was literally right next to the water fountain. He got fired the next day. Why? He told me he was in fuck it mode with the job and he didn't care. We worked at a hospital. Who cares if sick people get exposed to a little bit of antibiotic-resistant flesh-eating bacteria? I once witnessed a coworker attempt to vacuum an outdoor sidewalk instead of using a broom, but hey, who needs efficiency when you can have a freshly sucked concrete? Taking out and using a vape pen in a clean room area that had an acid hood with butanol, nitric acid, and hydrofluoric acid in it. Suffice to say he wasn't employed for long after that. Can you Eli 5 this beyond just don't vape in a clean room? There were 2 of us installing an air conditioner. He had a bit of work outside that required him going up a ladder about 3 or 4 feet, not high. I was inside doing wiring. I heard a loud thud and scream, so I ran out to see what happened. He fell off the ladder. I've seen gruesome injuries from stupid thing like this before, so I ran outside to help him out. No injuries, he picked himself up and got back at it. I went back inside. 5 minutes later, same thing. I walked out to check on him again after a small fall. He was okay again, but I told him to chill out and watch what he's doing. I went back inside. Heard another thud from outside. He fell again. I just looked out the window the 3rd time and went about my business. That almost sounds like he was trying to get an injury to collect workman's comp. That's some Wile E. Coyote shit right there, Lamau. Cutting his hair at the bar, he was the bartender. This one is hard XD. Was this an Italian restaurant in St. Louis during COVID? Or has this happened twice, somehow? I once had a coworker who decided it would be a great idea to take a nap in the middle of a busy conference call. Talk about sleeping your way to success.